back to the Daily Grind. Thanks for checking out the channel. Make sure to hit subscribe if you're new and hit thumbs up if you're not a baby back pickle biting bitch boy, cause you know what time it is. It's full time.
MMA.
I've got to start this video off by saying hashtag free Jon Jones, because it's looking like the golden snitch Jeff Novitzky, USADA's one of the head people of USADA. I mean, the face of USADA as far as I'm concerned. Anytime you actually hear about a representative from USADA, as far as I've heard, you usually hear Jeff Novitzky. He's joined the Joe Rogan podcast and discussed when he busted Lance Armstrong, and he's also, does a lot of the press behind USADA's findings, like Jon Jones bust. It might be Jeff Novitzky speaking. So Jeff Novitzky joined Joe Rogan's podcast again, I believe, and Joe Rogan asked him, so what's the state of the Jon Jones? What can we talk about? And this is what he had to say. I've said for a while now, it would not make a lot of sense for an individual, a UFC athlete who knew, especially a champion or contender like Jon Jones, who knew, hey, I'm tested quite regularly in the program, would not make a lot of sense that Turbinol would be your drug of choice if you were intentionally trying to cheat. USADA did another test on Jon after his positive test, and he was negative. Who knows where it plays out, but certainly on the surface of things, I have said that with this type of information out there, it wouldn't indicate intentional use. Now, why is this important? Because even though Jon Jones had to have been somewhat reckless for it to be in his system, because if you know exactly what you're putting into your body, for one, they wouldn't have to test multiple supplements, trying to find which one was responsible, and for two, if you were super careful, you probably wouldn't, in my mind, pop dirt. There's a lot of athletes in the UFC that don't have these incidents that pop dirt. Demetrius Johnson has went on record saying before he takes an aspirin or a Tylenol, he makes sure it's okay with USADA. So clearly it doesn't seem like Jon Jones has been taking that far of steps, but what Jeff Novitzky is saying is still, given everything in Jon Jones' past, even this second offense still doesn't look like intentional use. And I mean, this situation is really weird to me with Jon Jones, because we all know he's one of the UFC's cash cows. So and he's he's got money to fight these. A lot of other fighters, if they were busted by USADA, especially for a second time, they usually don't get, this many, chances to prove their innocence. I heard this mentioned by some other MMA personality or fighter. I can't remember who it was, but they said, normally, if you test dirty, you should know what substances you were taking. You shouldn't have the time to go and test a bunch of different supplements on the shelf and find which one has Turbinol in it and say, oh yeah, I was taking that one. You should know what you were taking, I was taking this and this, and have the doctors go test it. But we've heard rumors as crazy as maybe the Turbinol was cut in some of Jon Jones's cocaine, you know what I'm saying? With Jon Jones's history of it's just, there's no telling where this is coming from. Me personally, I was under, and I still kind of am under the impression that Jon Jones might have just been trying to cheat the system, and he was just, maybe taking steroids. And to Jeff Novitzky, he said, why would Jon Jones do it? And I'll give you why I think Jon Jones might do it. If Jon Jones fought OSP and he was clean, he didn't fail the USADA test, he was clean, and he realized, hey, maybe he didn't do as good versus OSP as he thought. A lot of people thought Jon Jones didn't look like the Jon Jones of old when he fought OSP. So maybe he thought, well, now I'm about to be fighting Daniel Cormier, so maybe he was like, maybe he thought he could cheat the system. Maybe he thought he could beat the system. I mean, it is what it is. So with that being said, even if Jon Jones, if it's found that it's not intentional use, he might still get a minimum suspension. Even if it's, not intentional use, he still would face some sort of sanction. So it might be a year, which might be doubled because this is his second offense, so it might be 2 years. But at this rate, if they give Jon Jones 1 year, 9 of those years, or 9 of those months of that year would already be served, because just how long this process is taking would all count towards that time. So if USADA comes out tomorrow and says, hey, Jon Jones, I found out it wasn't intentional use, we found the supplement, tainted supplement, Jon Jones might still get a year. 9 of those months already served, and we might see Jon Jones back mid-2018. So that's what this really means. With that being said, it is what it is. Jeff Novitzky joined Joe Rogan. You can go listen to the full podcast or full interview there on Joe Rogan's podcast site or whatever. So with that being said, it is what it is. Let the full-time family know what you're talking about in the comments. I'm out.
Da 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 da. It's the motherfucking D-O double G.